on Saturday's edition of Unfiltered with Dan Bongino, turns out a little filtering would have went a long way. Now, this was during the segment, Tale of Two Americas, where Bongino tried to portray that large cities run by Democrats as unsafe and unhealthy. They decided to use a map of the U.S. that they claimed highlighted the top 10 most unhealthy U.S. cities. Here is that segment.
Let's look at some major policy areas, right? The economy, healthcare, education, public safety. Where are economies struggling right now, right? Inner cities run exclusively and monopolistically by garbage Democrat politicians who don't give a damn about people. They're the ones that ran these economies in these inner cities into the ground. In some of these cities, they haven't had a Republican elected in 4 or 5 decades. Two Americas, yeah, you created it. An America where you can get a job and an America where you can't. And then let's not forget about the healthcare either. You go to you look at some of the health outcomes in some of these inner cities that these Democrats have run monopolistically for decades, and you stand a pretty darn good chance of dying in one of these inner cities, far more likely than if you lived in areas where they gave a damn about people and their healthcare outcomes.
Aw, this guy, look, it's adorable. He's playing the populist. That is so freaking cute. Oh, of course we know it's all bullshit because he doesn't actually care about regular people, but he's just saying that. No, look, I love this because we'll get to the fake graphic in a minute, okay? But let's look at the major policy, right? Economy, healthcare, education, public safety. Yeah. Oh, okay, yes. Yes, absolutely. Let's look at that. Let's look at that. What is it? California is like the 5th largest economy. They're running a budget surplus. Wait a minute. And you have red states that are taking more in government welfare than blue states. I mean, it appears that they're not doing so. The blue states are subsidizing the red states. Are you sure you want to go with that? Are you sure you want to go with that? Okay. I mean, again, if you cared about health outcomes of regular people, then is Dan Bongino in favor of Medicare for all? Dan Bongino, like, come over, support Medicare for all. Like, we'd love to have you promote that on your show. Bring on Bernie Sanders. You guys can have a great conversation, I bet. But is that going to happen? Of course not. Of course not. But here's the thing, right? Getting to the graphic, finally. Notice how it showed the top 10 unhealthiest and dangerous cities in the United States. Well, in reality, according to their own source, the source that was cited there, Wallet Hub, it actually had 9 of the healthiest cities. Oops. Healthcare, food, fitness, green space. No, it's very interesting. San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, San Diego, Honolulu, Washington, Austin, Irvine. Irvine's funny because they actually meant Irving, Texas. Portland and Denver. The 2 Portlands. Oops. Oh, that's so somebody needs to be fired for that debacle. That mistake. But look, Wallet Hub, the source for the Unfiltered cited in its graphic, is, again, the healthiest places to live in the United States. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't know, but like, healthiest generally means, or I should say, is generally the opposite of most unhealthy. Healthy, there's healthy, and then there's unhealthy. They're kind of not in this, they're opposite ends of the spectrum. Seems like a bit of an oversight here. Weird how that would happen. But that's not the only one. As I mentioned, Irvine, California was actually supposed to mean Irving, Texas. But whatever. How embarrassing. Or is it embarrassing? You think anybody watching Dan Bongino is going to, I don't know, fact check Dan Bongino? No, they're going to agree with everything he says. Oh yeah, all these cities, these big cities they're open sewers filled with trash, waste, and disease. I'll follow the liberal Democrats and encourage homelessness and illegal immigration and allow Antifa to burn it down every couple of months. None of which is true. None of that's true at all. Yes, do cities have problems? Sure, of course. Homelessness is a major issue, especially with, when you combine it with the lack of mental health care, soaring addiction, diseases of despair, housing that's unaffordable. If you want to blame Democrats for not tackling those issues effectively, that's totally fair. We do all this, on the show all the time. California, the great example is California could have guaranteed mental health care or just health care in general to all of their citizens. Well, they chose not to. There was a Medicare for all bill that was coming up that was pulled. Now, why did they do that? Well, it's because of the healthcare industry donations. You have corruption in the government, I know. But that's a far more interesting story than saying, look at these gross homeless people, also Democrats bad. You know why? Because it actually talks about the real issues. But it's not, by the way, it is not a simple thing to do, okay? Because you might actually have to get in some nuance and talk about how it's the donors, how you have unaffordable housing because you have landlord groups that are lobbying, real estate developers that are lobbying, that donate to politicians and buy them. Now, if Dan Bongino were actually serious about solving the problems in the cities, he'd go after the corruption, regardless of the party. The party doesn't matter as long as both sides are being bought by the same people. But in reality, of course, Dan Bongino loves the corruption. He's totally fine with it. As long as it means that, hey, I don't care if a corrupt Republican gets into office, as long as it's not a corrupt Democrat. Well, then I'm you know what? I can't really have a conversation on that because he doesn't challenge the corruption. Now, in the statement, a Fox News spokesperson told Mediaite, on Saturday night's episode of Unfiltered with Dan Bongino, a graphic was aired with inaccurate information on the unhealthiest cities in the country. We regret the error, which will be corrected on next week's program. You know how they corrected this? They ran B-roll of homeless people. Instead of showing the graphic, they just ran B-roll of homeless people to scare their audience. Same lies, same bullshit, graphic of homeless people, because at the end of the day, this isn't about facts, because facts don't matter when you are, like Dan Bongino is, doing propaganda.